Clutch Trucker filmed in front of a live studio audience. Rusty, the world-famous meatball dog. Hey YouTube, thanks for tuning in to another edition of the Clutch Trucker channel. Okay, yes, it's another video all about, the new hours of service rules coming up, and it's just next Tuesday. It's real soon. This is Wednesday right now, the 23rd. Tuesday the 29th, right at midnight, that's when these rules go into effect. Now I had the main video all about the overview of all the changes happening. Then I did the split sleeper berth clarified video. And before that I did the just talking about the 30-minute break video to clarify that one. And then I did the real-world example of using the split sleeper berth. Well, through all the comments everybody was putting on there and going back and forth and talking with people, we've come up with something else. There's another loophole, baby! Yeah! Now, when last we spoke, I did that video about, clarifying, or the real-world example of using the split sleeper berth under the new rules. And I was in Knoxville, Tennessee at the time. I had delivered in Duluth, Georgia, and I had to go pick up in Chattanooga, and then made it up to Knoxville, and I was showing how if the new rules were in place already, my log would have been a lot easier to do, and I could have extended my 14 that day using the split sleeper berth. And then since then, I had a load that I picked up in Elyria, Ohio, that brought me through the house. I delivered on Monday in Fort Lupton, Colorado, and so I got to go see the family and everything. That was cool. Even celebrating my daughter who turned 21 last week. We went up to the casinos there in Blackhawk. Not only did we not lose, left with some of their cash. That's the way to do it, baby. Yeah. So delivered in Fort Lupton, Colorado on Monday, then went all the way down to Farmington, New Mexico. That was a long deadhead, but this load pays really well. Picking up a load of pumpkins. It's that time of year, baby. Going all the way up to the Albany, New York area. So right now, today, I'm in Mount Vernon, Missouri, at a little TA here. And like I say, over the last week, a lot of comments from people coming in. And I wish I could remember your name. I tried to go back and find it in your comments, but I couldn't find it again. Where somebody had said, about the split sleeper berth thing, saying, well, what if on the first break you got hung up for like 5 hours, and then on the second break, you still did a 7 after that, and the rule states that, both do not count against your 14. And I said, well, but I think, they intended it to only be the 2 to 3 hours for the first break or second break, and then the 7 to 8 hours for the next one, both equaling 10. And then he responded and said, well, what if it's 5 hours though? Do you count the first 2? Do you count the 3? Do you count the last 3? And I went back and said, you know what? I'm gonna have to go look at all this again. So I did. Okay, so now here's the meat of this whole point of this video. The split sleeper berth rule states you must do 2 periods, one of at least 2 hours and one of at least 7 hours, so that both of them paired together equal 10. So if you did a 2-hour break and then later paired it with a 8-hour break, 8 plus 2 is 10, bang, you've qualified for your split sleeper berth. And of course, you can't count the hours in between the 2 breaks. After the second one, you just get back what you did before the first break. I know already that's confusing. But go watch my real-world example of using the split sleeper berth video, and you'll understand more how that all works and how you add your hours up to make that clock work out right. Okay, now here was the main point. The guy commented and said, well, if you're stuck there for 5 hours, how do you count that? And shouldn't both of them stop your 14? And I went back and read the whole thing again, and yes, and I got tons of comments from people saying, did he really read the whole thing? Yeah, I know, I said it like 5 times. I'm sorry. But yes, I did read the whole thing. I went back and read it again, okay? And I read the brief description, I read the full thing again, and he's right. Both of them would stop your clock, even if one of them was 5 hours, and the other one, then of course you'd only have to do at least 7 for the second one at that point. Yes, now that equals 12. 7 plus 5 is 12. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Okay, but they're at least 10. Okay? And here's where I really don't think the FMCSA thought this through when they wrote out the new rule. Because here's exactly what it says. For the split sleeper berth break, you must do 2 periods, one of at least 2 hours, one of at least 7 hours, where both of them equal 10, and neither period counts against your 14. There's the big thing right there, okay? They don't say, like, I think what they really intended it to be was the first one to be anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, and the second one anywhere from 7 to 8 hours, or in reverse, okay, to equal 10. But because they didn't put an at least or less than, they put at least, they didn't put a less than limit on those, this is where I don't think they realized what they did. And like I said in the main video about how we can stop the clock any day we want and take a 2 to 3 hour break if we want to, well, now that I've reread everything, we can take an even longer one if we wanted to and stop that 14. Okay, and here's why. Okay, let's take it down piece by piece. It says the first break must be at least 2 hours. The second break must be at least 7 hours. Or, of course, you can reverse those. But it doesn't say, but no more than. It doesn't say must be at least 2 hours, but no more than 3. It doesn't say at least 7 hours, but no more than 10. It doesn't say that. All it says then after that is neither period counts against your 14. So, like the guy in the comments on his example was, if your first one is 5 hours long, okay, that stops your clock for 5 hours. That stops that 14. Then later on, you finish your driving, and then you take at least 7, because you have to have at least 7 for the second one, right? Okay, so yes, you've done a total of 12 in the sleeper berth or off duty or the combo, but both of those periods stop your clock. So, hello? I don't think they really realize, again, what they've done. Because it doesn't say, but no more than, it just says at least 2 hours, at least 7 hours, which means I could take 6 hours and 59 minutes for my first break, and then do 7 after that for my second break, and both of those would stop the 14. Talk about flexible. I don't think they meant it to be this flexible, but the way they worded it, and this is what the guy kept saying in the comments, in the verbiage, the way they worded it, it just says at least, and neither period stops, or neither period counts against your 14. So, not only can we take a 2 to 3 hour break every day if we want to, we can take pretty much any kind of break we want and stop that 14, as long as it's paired with another break of at least 7 to 8 hours to stop the 14. Are you confused? Now, the big question is the ELD providers. You've got your major ones out there, JJ Keller, you got PeopleNet, you've got Qualcomm, Keep on Trucking, all these companies. How are they going to be interpreting these rules that the FMCSA has laid out? And so how are they going to put that into their software? And how are they going to calculate these rules? It remains to be seen. But if I read the rules as it's stated, must be at least 2 hours and at least 7 hours, with both periods equaling 10, and neither counts against your 14. If you just go strictly off what they said, we have a lot more flexibility and we can stop that clock. So say you started at 6 a.m., okay? And maybe you didn't sleep good the night before for some reason. You drove 5 hours to your to your receiver that day. Okay, I wrote out some fake logs again to try to show you an example again. So let's see, we're starting day 1 at 6 a.m. right there, okay? We drop down, we show pre-trip in WTF, Nebraska. We do 5 hours, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 11:15 a.m. Drop down and say we're unloading at my ass, Nebraska. All right, then we go up here off duty for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Here's the end of our first break, qualifying for our split sleeper berth. Now we're 14 because we started at 6 a.m. The original one ends at 8 p.m. But now we get to add 5 hours to that till 1 a.m. So after we come out of our break at 4:30, we go back to driving for an hour, drop down to on duty and go pick up our next load in Earwax, Iowa. We go off duty for 45 minutes while they finish. We drive for another 4 hours until 10:30 p.m. Okay, there's the beginning of our second break, our 7-hour break, to qualify for the second part of the split sleeper berth. We've driven a total of 9 hours today, which means we still have 2 left over. And now, after that 7 at 5:30 in the morning, we're going to get back this first 5 that we drove. Okay, so we took 7 hours in the sleeper berth. That 7 plus our previous 5 both qualify for at least 10 for our split sleeper berth. So at 5:30 in the morning, we only drove a total of 9 hours yesterday, and we got back that first 5, which happened before both breaks. So we have a total of 7 hours left to drive, as I put down here. So we've got 7 hours back driving, and our 14 now ends at 1:30 p.m. because you have to start from the end of your first break the previous day. All right, so let me go back to there. The first break ended at 4:30 p.m., which would give you till 6:30 a.m. Add 7 hours to that, you get 1:30 p.m., okay? So there's where we're at on that. Now, because we did another 7, now we have until 1:30 p.m. If we do another 3 at 12:30 p.m., then till 3:30 p.m., our 14 will now end at 10:30 p.m. on the second day. Because what we did is at 5:30, we went back onto a pre-trip and we drove until 12:30 p.m. and we took another 3. You can use that first break now at the second break, which was 7 hours, combine it with now this third break of 3, because now that's your new pair. You include that first one of 7 hours plus this one. As long as they're paired, you can use one more than once. Confused yet? Like I said, I'm going to be really interested to see how the ELD providers handle all this, because the wording is just so vague. But if you follow exactly what the wording says, both periods don't count against your 14, and all it says is at least 2 hours, at least 7 hours, we can stop that clock however we want, pretty much. Talk about flexible. I know it sounds so confusing, but this is another loophole I think I found in the rule here. So I had to let you know, and I know all I've done is probably confuse everybody. And like I say, it really depends on how your ELD provider is going to handle this. And I think maybe the FMCSA is going to have to go back now once these rules go into effect and go, oh, well, we didn't really mean that. We just meant you to do the 2 to 3 hours. We didn't mean... Well, you didn't write it that way. Because like I said a million times, I read the whole damn thing. It just says at least 2 hours. At least 7 hours with both equaling 10. You dug your hole, FMCSA. Let's see what the hell happens with all of this. I have to show you this. I found this toy here at the TA Mount Vernon, Missouri. They have a box full of them. $9.99. If you've never seen one of these before, this is a steering wheel knob. So what you can do is with one hand, you hold onto that and see you can move your wheel around just with one hand, and you hold onto this knob thing. It spins. It's a beautiful little thing. I've always kind of wanted one of those. It wouldn't fit my wheel with the brackets it had, so I just used some zip ties, baby. Zip ties will do about damn near anything. Look at that. Yeah. And it's on there, so there's my new toy. I'm excited to use it. Well, I hope I haven't just completely confused you even more. The more I look into this rule, the crazier it is. I'm not even sure they really... obviously they didn't really think it through. So, kind of crazy. Rusty's confused, I was confused, and who knows how the ELD providers are going to deal with this. It's going to be interesting. All coming up next week, baby, real quick. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Please subscribe. Would love to have you subscribe. Please comment. We get to your comments. Takes sometimes a few days because I'm a working truck driver. Like, ring that bell for notification. As always, sniff that magic YouTube fairy dust. Clutch and Rusty, out.